And we are live. Okay, let me make this over here. Actually, I'm gonna minimize this so you don't see. Okay, so I'm gonna set y'all up over here. And actually, hold on one second. Open my screen so I can see what I'm looking like. Okay, also let me make sure my clicker works. No clicker. Oh, okay, that's okay. We have other solutions. Oh, that's why. Sorry, y'all seeing me get myself together. My bad, y'all. We almost there. We gonna get it. We gonna get it straight. We gonna get it live. Okay. Live. What? What? Okay, whatever. We're not gonna worry about that right now. Oh, it does work. Okay, great. Alrighty. Let's come over here. Presentation. Okay. Here we go. Can y'all see me? Everybody ready? Oh, hold on. Oh my God, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. This over here. Okay. Now we are ready to rock. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm excited. Today, we are talking about, first of all, it's Financial Literacy Awareness Month. In case you didn't know, it is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. I'm very excited that I am so far keeping my commitment to myself. Okay, I put the word out there that I was going to do a live stream for every Friday this month. So far, we got 3 Fridays in, 1 Friday left to go. Today's topic is talking about saving and investing. Very excited to talk to you about it. I've got a lot of compliments on my pants today. If you're wondering where my pants are from, they're from Marshall's. Not that anybody cared about that, but okay, here we go. So I put together this presentation, worked really hard on it. Let's start by acknowledging our current reality. We all know that things are not right with our economy, right? We know that prices are going up. It's making it harder for us to save and invest money. And the headlines don't give us too much of a hopeful look towards the future. And we're going to kind of address that today. But one thing about me as a money coach is I want to be able to meet you where you're at, right? I don't want to be the type of money coach who's like, oh no, guys, it's fine. Everything's fine. Like, don't look at the market. Don't be worried. Everything's fine. No. Okay. We are in unprecedented times. Things are chaotic. Okay, things are not making sense. Things are not going per usual or the norm. So first, I want to just acknowledge that, okay, that first of all, this is not normal, right? So let's go ahead and talk about that. What you're seeing is a whole bunch of headlines, and you might be feeling like this gentleman right here in the middle, looking at the news, and every time you're like, what, right? So we got headlines like Trump's top regulators for prediction markets pledges crackdown on insider trading. It's crazy that I am studying right now for my next investment license. And one of the chapters of the book I'm studying is about laws, regulations, rules. And obviously, most people know without even studying the market that insider trading is something that's not allowed. Basically, it's making trades, buying and selling securities with information that is not available to the public. Yet it's happening every day. And it's happening not just with regular people, because yes, it is also happening with regular people, but also it's happening in our highest levels of government. Not only that, we obviously got a whole war that they're not calling a war going on, right? And I'm not here to get political, but unfortunately, with every headline we're seeing, it's highly affecting our market. It's highly affecting the economy. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. But even with that headline right there, you see the Dow surges 1,100 points just when we're going into this war. So one thing that I personally don't align with, like I just inherently think war is evil and we have lots of other solutions that we could go for. But when we're talking about war, when it comes to investing in the economy, unfortunately, war is profitable. So even though right now, a lot of people are thinking 40% of Americans, in fact, in that top right-hand box, 40% of Americans think that we're in the oligarchy and that a war might be popping off soon. Okay. And the reason why I'm going over these headlines is because I want you to, first of all, understand the headlines, and we're going to kind of get a little bit more into digesting financial news, but also to understand that you're not alone in your thinking. If you might be looking at financial news, looking at the market and feeling like, I don't know what's going on, like I don't have any faith in things that's happening right now, like I'm just confused and frustrated, right? I get it, right? Also, if we look at that box right there on the back to the left-hand side, investment anxiety has savers concerned about retirement plan. Right. So when there's a lot of uncertainty about the future, about what the future may hold, about things that are going on in the market, then we might feel like, why am I saving? What's the point of me saving? And we're actually going to talk a lot more about that type of mindset today, because now they have a new term for it, and we're going to go into that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, because we have a lot of I'm going to just summarize it and say global conflict going on right now, we're seeing the stock market go up. But one thing we see in the data, and this data has been prevalent for many years, we have two studies, research reports from Pew Research, which is a very credible research based organization. And what they have found is that although, yes, the stock market is booming, it does not benefit all racial and ethnic groups equally, which is like, duh, because like, even, a lot of people a few weeks ago were seeing that headline when I think it was Pam Bondi, whatever, right? But she was like, but the Dow Jones, it just reached 50,000. And everybody's like, okay, but like, what about what's going on in current news, right? And what about the people who are not currently invested? What about the people who maybe have investments, but it's not enough to retire, right? So even when we look at the numbers, unfortunately, from the data that we see, white families have more money invested than any other racial, ethnic group. You can see the data right there on this presentation. That's not something I'm making up. And not to mention, we're seeing differences by race, by age, by gender. We're seeing all different outcomes based on just who you are, your upbringing, your relationship with money, what you currently have invested. And what we know for a fact is that these numbers are not, it's not booming for everybody. Okay. That's one thing I want to make very clear, because sometimes we see financial news and we're like, dang, it's booming, but my accounts ain't booming, right? It was booming in the wrong type of way. Also, we're seeing unexpected expenses are taking 10% of retirees' income on average, which is crazy, right? So let's say I did all the right things and I prepared for retirement and did everything right, then I get to retirement and come to find out cost of living is so unpredictable that it's literally eating through my retirement savings. That's I don't know what, right? So again, when we look at that, that is a valid reason to feel stressed, to crash out, to have anxiety, to feel like, what is the point? What are we doing here, right? And lastly, Americans have never been this gloomy about the economy. And they looked at, and I read that article, they was looking at sentiments all the way back to the Great Depression. The Great Depression, and people are more stressed and anxious and gloomy about our economy now. That's kind of crazy to me, but valid, right? Because it's like we're seeing what's going on, and a lot of the times it can result in us feeling helpless. What am I doing with my money? What can I do to control anything, right? So let's actually go to the next slide here, which I want to give you this. Remember that when we are looking at the news is owned and controlled. By who? We're not going to go there, okay? Because that's not what this channel is about. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, okay? So I'm not going to get on my soapbox because that's not what we're here for. But we could spend a whole lot of time talking about who is controlling it, why they're controlling it, and what do they want to do with us, right? Or what is their point in sharing this news with us? But just know that they're trying to tell you a story. News is often sensationalized, right? And it's something that is supposed to grab your attention and give you some sort of emotional reaction, right? So the things I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at the news is, first of all, there's oftentimes, especially in this administration, okay, we're seeing inaccurate reporting or underreporting, specifically labor reporting numbers. Last year, 2025, they were talking about, oh, we created all these new jobs. Wow, look at all these new jobs we created. Then come to find out this year, they had to go back and look at the numbers and they were like, oh, actually, it was a bit lower than we thought it was, right? So the reason why I share that with you is because sometimes we hear headlines and we have that immediate knee-jerk reaction of like, what's going on? What does this have to do with me? What does this mean for me, right? When in reality, you should, and we're going to talk more about this, but you should receive the news, but understand that it could possibly change, okay? So take it with a grain of salt, right? Understand or do further investigating to understand, is this a complete picture or is this a one-sided angle where, again, they're trying to tell a story? Here's another big thing that's going on right now. Timing the news for when the market opens and closes. Again, something that is borderline illegal, definitely unethical. But basically what we're seeing this administration do right now is they're waiting for the right moment, right before the market opens or right before the market closes. And then somebody in power, that orange monster, is going to say something crazy that's going to make the stock market go up or go down or go left or go right. And again, why am I saying this? The point of me saying this is because you don't want to predict, or you don't want to base all your investment activity off of somebody who is purposefully trying to manipulate what happened. And I have to be careful with my words here, right? So what they're doing is they're being very strategic with the timing that they're choosing to release certain news. And that is intentional. So the reason I'm telling you that is so that when you hear the news, you can say to yourself, you know what? Is this actual news or is this somebody trying to control the market right now? Here's another one. Purposefully overwhelming the public with crazy headlines every single day. Every day. And sometimes more than once a day. It's literally to the point where it's giving people whiplash. Like they feel like this man right here who's on my screen, he's literally going like this. Like, what the world? Like, what, right? Why do people feel like that? Or actually, let me rephrase that. What comes out of people feeling like that? What comes out of people feeling like that is people acting in fear, acting irrationally, not thinking through decisions, acting impulsively, right? And that's exactly where they want you. Okay. One thing about me, when it comes to investing, when it comes to saving, or when it comes to just finances in general, or just how I live my life in general, I'm the type of person, if they want you to do it, if the man is trying to get you to do it, I'm like, no, absolutely not. Right. So I say that to say they are purposefully putting out all these headlines, especially these crazy headlines. Like, we got a whole bunch of true demons, okay, in leadership right now, right? They are abusive towards children, abusive towards people who don't look like them, abusive towards people in other countries, abusive to laws and regulations and just all types of things, okay? They are insane. And again, if you were to crash out over those news, I would understand, but that's exactly where they want you. So rather than being reactive, understand, okay, this is where they're trying to emotionally get me. So instead, I'm going to have a strategy and have a plan, right? And we're going to talk about that. Next, distractions to keep people arguing with each other and not focusing on the real criminals, which is typically the people at the top, the people who own stuff, the people who are the CEOs, the people who are the oligarchy, the people who are in this administration, right? And they're so busy trying to make people fight from each other from different classes, different or like economic classes, different ethnic backgrounds, different locations in the country, getting people to argue so much so that they're distracted from who is causing the real issues, right? And then lastly, I kind of already talked about this, but they're trying to control your emotions and actions with incomplete statements. Okay, so they're saying things, or it's really like gaslighting, because what they're saying, they say stuff like, "Oh, this war is almost over. We almost got a deal, right? We're about to come out with the best deal ever. Oh, people's pockets are definitely going to feel relief once we release this policy. Once we get through this situation, people are going to feel so much better." They're gaslighting you, okay? They're trying to control your emotions. It's a little picture of a puppet right there, right? So they're trying to control your emotions like a puppet, knowing that they're saying stuff that is not the full picture, okay? So next, I want to talk about how do we digest and understand these headlines, right? First, I want you to know it's a delicate balance between staying informed and knowing when to log off, okay? Very, very important, because yes, we can't be completely ignorant, right? We need to know what's going on in the world. It's not even just knowing what's going on in your personal bank account. Like, we need to know what's going on in politics, right? I'm not saying you have to be an expert in everything, but it's important to stay informed. But also, it can get to a point where you're so overwhelmed, so worked up that you just get into analysis paralysis and you don't make any decision, you don't make any movement, because it's just fear and uncertainty, right? So emotional regulation is so important when it comes to finances, right? Being able to still go through a standardized process of decision making, even when I am stressed and overwhelmed, is a very underrated skill. And that's something I want you to practice. Okay. Next, ask yourself what is the news source's motive behind the headline? Is it fear or is it facts? I'm not going to say all news is bad, but news always inherently has an angle. So again, asking who is the source, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to get out of this, right? Here's another big one. Ask yourself, is this information relevant to you right now, right? If you are young and maybe you're just getting started with your career, just getting started with investing, worrying about retirement concerns that are happening tomorrow. For example, if the rates are down and I need to retire tomorrow, then that's something I could be concerned about. But if I got 20, 30, 40 years until retirement, why does it make sense for me to stress my brain out about something that is not relevant to me right now? Is it relevant in general? Yes. But is it relevant to me right now is a very good question to ask yourself to regulate from news that might be about to send you off a cliff, right? Remind yourself of your plan and your strategy and your timeline, especially when we're talking about, is it relevant to me right now, right? Like I was just saying, if you're not nowhere near retirement age, why are you concerned about what's going on with retirement right now, right? Should you be saving for retirement? Yes, but I don't need to be concerned with it right now. Also, another one, if you're on the other side of the spectrum, maybe you are a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more mature. Why are you concerned with Gen Z not saving no money? That shouldn't concern you, right? Because you are not there, right? Unless you have maybe Gen Z children, Gen Z grandchildren, right? Okay, then maybe that's a different conversation. But I'm saying that to say, remind yourself, okay, I heard this news, but I have this plan. I got my Roth IRA. I got my 401k at the job. I have my brokerage account over here. I have an emergency account over here. I got a high yield savings account. So I'm good. And my retirement is not scheduled for another 30 years. Okay, I'm straight. Right? A much better conversation with yourself than just stressing about what's going on. How am I going to do this? What's happening, right? Feeling chaos. Next, check your mindset and your thinking. We are definitely going to be talking about that today. Guys, here's the thing when it comes to investing. I think a lot of people know what to do. They know they should be saving. They know they should be investing. Maybe you don't know all the ins and outs of the accounts and how they work, which we're going to talk about some of that today. But in general, you know that you need to be saving and investing. Most of the time, what gets in the way is lack of planning, mindset, and habits, right? So check your habits, check your mindset, check your thinking. If you have stinking thinking, if you have poverty mindset, if you are constantly just thinking about you're broke, that's what's going to show up. We kind of talked about that last week, right? That's what's going to show up in your finances. So check your mindset and your thinking. And then lastly, we're definitely going to talk about this more than once today. Seek advice or talk about your concerns with a qualified opinion. Why am I emphasizing qualified? Because sometimes we get worked up, we start thinking about stuff, we have a conversation with our broke cousin who don't got no money and don't have nothing going for him, or the uncle who does crypto and I see him pop off with his crypto every once in a while, or the person who always on to the next job, onto the get rich quick thing, right? Those are not the opinions that you want to seek. You want to seek someone who has expertise in the area, maybe some experience, right? We're going to talk more about, getting involved with the right people. But I think a lot of the time people spiral and they self-isolate, which is something we also talked about last week. which can cause the problem to just perpetuate and get worse. And we're not improving. We're not getting any better, right? So even if it's just being vulnerable and open about, hey, I read a headline and it really shook me and I'm a little nervous about this and I feel like I just need some space to kind of talk it out. Like, this is crazy, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Right? So I'm not crazy, right? It's somebody else who also sees this. It's not just me who thinks this is crazy. Somebody else also thinks this is crazy. Very important when it comes to finances, right? Next, speaking of mindset, let's talk about a little term that is becoming very new. And in my research, I found that the first time this might have been used is about 2020-ish. Okay, it cited this one blogger, but I don't know. If anybody knows who's the first person to coin this term, let me know. But basically, what I want to talk to you about is financial nihilism. Nihilism is a word in and of itself, which is basically like feeling like things are hopeless, right? Things like, what's the point of doing anything? Like, it's just no point. According to the World Economic Forum, financial nihilism is the sense that the economic system no longer rewards prudence for long-term planning. It is shorthand for a generation's apparent self-destructive relationship with money. And we can see some of the headlines there. Financial nihilism is pushing young Americans towards crypto and sports betting. Woo! Don't get me on my soapbox talking about that, guys, but let me just tell you this. If you're sports betting, if you're doing the Kalshi and I forgot the name of the other one, prediction markets, or maybe even crypto, right? Now, there are some spaces where crypto is a bit more structured, okay? But let's say you just throwing money in there because you waiting for that get rich quick, right? You trying to scour the news and you hear somebody talking about something and then you throwing all your money in there. That's an example of financial nihilism. Financial nihilism is a trap young investors are walking into. So these are headlines from multiple different sources, okay? Multiple places are talking about this. And I actually first heard about it on TikTok. So it's something that, is gaining traction. A lot of people, it's kind of like people are hearing it and they're like, oh, that's the name for how I've been feeling lately, right? Young adults embrace financial nihilism with risky crypto stock bets because the American dream feels unattainable. That is something very real. I think, we, especially if you're a millennial, we were really brainwashed with the whole go to school, get a job, you're going to get a 401k or a pension, and then you'll be able to retire from that one job like 30, 40, 50 years later, and you'll be able to just live the rest of your life and you be good, right? But I think a lot of people are waking up from that dream and realizing that it's really it's a nightmare. It's not a dream, it's a nightmare, right? So, especially with the whole go to college, graduate, get married, get a house, get a car, have a baby. Those are all huge financial decisions and oftentimes cause you to accumulate a lot of debt, even if it's a good thing, right? Even if you planned it out and thought it through, it still means a lot of debt. So I get where young adults may feel more stressed, more anxious, or more even like, what's the point? Because everything that they have told us all these years, we're seeing it not work. We're seeing the generations above us, the Generation X, or if you're Gen Z, you're seeing millennials go through the trenches trying to make this American dream a reality, right? So a lot of people are like, I don't want to go down those footsteps because I don't see evidence of it paying off, right? I feel like that just makes sense. And then lastly, a new study says Americans are embracing financial nihilism as they try to keep up. But I actually want to bring your attention to that chart there because I think and especially in a lot of my study about financial nihilism, it really hones in and focuses on Gen Z, which I get it, rightfully so. You're young, just getting started, especially if you're about to graduate from college. You're looking at the current labor market and you're like, this is not what I was promised, right? But in that chart, it also looks at other generations. So it has millennials, Generation X, and the boomers, right? And what it points out is it's not just a Gen Z problem. There are other generations feeling this sting as well, right? So that's an important point that I want to put out. This is not just a Gen Z problem. Anybody can find themselves in a space of financial nihilism, myself included. I've been there, okay? But we have to be able to work ourselves out of that because, again, look at the definition. An apparent self-destructive relationship with money. That is not a good relationship. You shouldn't want to have a self-destructive relationship with nobody, not even yourself, right? So let's talk about, okay, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I got a little bit nerdy once we were really getting into financial nihilism, mindset, money psychology, money behavior. Guys, there is a lot of data. There are a lot of really smart people out here doing the work, doing the science, okay? I'm just here to report it to y'all, but I want you to know the science is being done, okay? So we're not gonna spend too much time on this slide, but I do wanna read to you guys a few sentences. First sentence. This is from so the first study that's on the left-hand side of the screen, it comes from Money Matters, a contemporary review on young adults' financial behavior. This came out in 2025. So that first study, they did it with like a couple hundred Gen Z, ages 18 to 24. And what they found is, however, this scholarly discussion, I'm getting close because I'm trying to read it in case you're like, why is she? Okay. Anyway. However, this scholarly discussion would like to add to the insight of this study domain that mere financial education does not guarantee financial well-being in this age group. Due to technological advancement and widespread exposure to technology, which is a big thing. We just talk about the sports betting platforms, right? It feels like every other commercial trying to get you to do more sports betting. Every other commercial, it seems like it's another app, another platform, another thing that you can put your money on, that you can track your money on, that you can spend money on, right? So due to their technological advancement and widespread exposure to technology, social media influence, socialized agents such as family, friends, and colleagues, psychological impact, and broader socioeconomic conditions to have combined and collectively affect on young adults' financial behavior. So why am I reading that? Because I want you to know it's not just about learning the skills, okay? Again, like I said, most people know that they need to save and invest. Maybe you don't know all the terms and all the accounts and what they're for, but a lot of times it's not just the actual financial literacy. It's also who is around you, how you spend your time, especially with the scrolling. What media are you taking in through your eyes, your ears, your thoughts, right? All of that has to do with your money mindset. I'm gonna read the next one here. Recent empirical studies grounded in observational learning principles show that peer communication and observed financial behavior improve quality of financial decision making. And family financial socialization via parenting modeling and openness robustly predicts young adults' financial literacy, financial confidence, intentions, and behavior. Ooh, that's a good point. Because again, it's not just learning the numbers, the accounts, what's out there, how do I invest? It's about making sure that the people around you, your family, your social circles, all of that impacts. And it's actually a higher indicator if you are having regular financial conversations, talking about financial literacy at the table with your family, talking about it in your friend groups, seeing parents or guardians or people who you look up to modeling good financial behavior. If everybody you look up to is all about blowing money at the club, driving foreign cars, and taking the next vacation out of the country, what do you think your mindset about money is going to be? Probably the same thing, right? So you need to be able to, if you're a parent, make sure you're modeling good behavior and having conversations with your family, with your children about finances. If you are a young adult, surround yourself with people who model good financial behavior. Surround yourself with people who talk about money in a positive way, not just I'm broke, I need to make more money, right? Next, I'm going to read from the right-hand side of the screen now, which this study is from Psychology Today, and it was just basically behavioral finance. And so it was talking about bias. Biases are important in the field of behavioral finance, right? So what in this portion was actually much longer, but what it was talking about is that most of the time when people are making financial decisions, they either have, let's say, recency bias. So it's like, what's the most recent thing I heard, the most recent thing that I saw on TikTok, on the news, on, heard somebody talking about, okay, that's where I'm gonna focus my investing energy or my investing money. Also, another one is loss aversion. So people have more fear of losing money than they do of actually investing. So investors place a higher priority on avoiding loss than they do on making gains. So again, if this is your mindset, you're probably never going to get to the point of actually investing because you're more scared of loss, which I want to help you move beyond that, help you to overcome that, okay? Because investing in general includes inherent possibility of loss. We're going to talk about that more. And then lastly, from Psychology Today, talking about herd mentality and how it affects financial decision making. Humans are naturally communal and they tend to follow a crowd. So again, depending on what you're seeing from all your different social media platforms, all your friends are doing it, all your social circles, your household, right? So you're gonna typically follow whatever the people around you are doing. And again, the reason why that matters is because you want to look at what these people are doing and decide like, okay, I do want my finances to look like their situation, or I'm looking at their situation and I don't really like what I see. So I need to figure out how to surround myself with better financial decision makers. Okay. So again, this is me kind of getting nerdy and just, I'm passionate about what I do. I love reading this kind of stuff. I love getting into this. I'm not expecting you to understand all the things about psychology and money mindset and behavioral finance, but I want you to take time and reflect on what is my mindset around money? What is my most frequent thought, right? Because that's what shows up. Okay. So to summarize that segment, we know it's a mess, okay? We know our current economic situation in the country is a mess. We know a lot of people don't have money saved. Average American can't get their hands on $1,000. Average American has less than $150,000 saved for retirement, right? So we know it's a mess, but we focus on what we can control. Although I understand the sentiment of financial nihilism, we need to have a balance between living for today and saving for the future. I'm not telling you that you should never splurge, or actually, let me take that back. I'm not saying you should never treat yourself. I'm not saying never take a trip out the country. I'm not saying never do a luxury purchase, but it's a balance, right? Next, instead of disregarding financial planning altogether and just throwing it out the window, focus on a plan that aligns with your outlook and your mindset, okay? So if you are the type of person that's like, you know what? I don't believe that our current system is going to continue the way it does. Okay, so invest. Maybe you're investing more in short-term things, right? Versus long-term. Or maybe you're the type of person that's like, you know what? I want to invest in my community. I want to invest in a business. I want to invest, right? So invest with things that align with your outlook and your mindset. And I say that because a lot of times I think when people think of investing, they think I have to just go with the status quo or go with like whatever I know that's right in front of me. But there is a huge world of investing. So take time to evaluate for yourself, what is important to me? What is my time horizon? What is my mindset? And then invest based on that. Don't try and copy and paste, right? Follow the leader because I follow this one person on social media and they look like they're making a whole bunch of money. So I want to be like them. So I'm going to just do everything they do. No, invest based on your values, your outlook, your mindset. Next. And I want to say this because I hope it's going to free some people. You can plan for both if the shit hits the fan and if I have a long, fulfilling life. One thing I speak over myself often is I'm going to live to 100. I know I'm going to live to 100. So if I'm going to live to 100, I certainly need to have some money invested, some money that is going to grow with me long term because I'm planning on having a long life and I need my money to last for my entire life, right? That's an example of I'm matching my investment with my mindset and my outlook and my beliefs, right? So that's how we do that. Thought disruptors to change your mindset from nihilism to empowered. Again, whatever you think about most often is what's going to show up, right? So if you are the type of person that you're seeing this and you're like, dang, I never knew the name for that, but I actually do feel that way, right? I feel not so hopeful about the future. I feel like I don't know what's going on with the financial world. So I might call myself a financial nihilist, okay? If that's you, I got these thought disruptors for you. And one thing about a thought disruptor is that I don't want to pretend like these thoughts at the top or the nihilism thoughts will never come to you. I'm not trying to say that you are bad for ever having a nihilism type thought. But it is, as we already discovered, a destructive thought path, right? It's not going to lead anywhere fruitful for you. Therefore, if we can disrupt the thought pattern, we're not saying never have the thought. We're not saying shame yourself for ever feeling that way. We're saying, where can we interrupt this pattern so that we can create a new one, right? So a lot of times when it comes to nihilism, they have an all or nothing mentality. If I can't invest $1,000 a month, I ain't doing it. No, here's the disruptor. I start where I can afford to start. How comforting does that sound? If it's $25, that's where I can afford to start. Okay, but I start wherever I can afford to start and I'll grow from there. But I have to start. Next one. Money doesn't stay, so I might as well just go ahead and use it now. I'm looking at you, trip people, okay, vacation people. That be the number one mindset. They be like, well, I ain't going to retire anyway. I ain't going to stay anyway, so I might as well just spend it now. Let me give you the new thought. Money comes to me easily and I make it work for me. That's good, right? I know, I came up with that myself. Okay, but when you speak that over your life, right? Money comes to me easily. First of all, I don't got to work hard for money. I ain't got to stress over money. It comes to me easily. And then not only that, when it comes to me, I make it work for me. Okay? I ain't working for money. I'm gonna make it work for me, right? That's a big one right there. Next one. I'm never going to be able to retire, so why would I save or invest? Kind of just said that one. But again, there are definitely I have sat down. I have met with young people who have this outlook and mindset. Here is the thought disruptor. Retirement is not an age, it's a number. Again, guys, financial literacy and financial planning a lot of times will give you like these big goals or big numbers, like this is what I need to retire. One thing that I provide for my clients is called a financial independence number. It's basically the amount of money that I need to see in my account so that that money can work for me and I never have to work for money again. Most people want to reach that point in life, but they have no real idea of how much money that actually will require for them. And obviously it's a case-by-case basis, right? But one thing I want to impress upon you is that, yes, financial independence number is the number that you need to achieve. Retirement age, typically they tell you is 65, and recently it's been going up, right? 67. I've even heard people say 70, right? So they're increasing the retirement age. So rather than me saying, oh, I'm currently I had to think about how old I was. I'm currently 31 years old, right? So I have another, 34, 36 years until retirement age, right? So I could very well look at that and say, well, I got 30 years. I'm just not going to invest. It don't matter. I don't need to save for retirement. I got 30 years. No, retirement is not an age. It's a number. Right? If I can get to that number by age 40, would I just continue working? No, I'm going to retire. Now, not me, because I love what I do. But a typical 9-to-5 person, if I reach my financial independence number by age 40, why would I continue working until age 65? It don't make sense. Reason why is because retirement is not an age, it's a number. And you're going to add on to that statement and say, I am consistently saving to get to that number, right? So I'm not just saving aimlessly. I'm not just putting money in a Roth IRA and hoping it's going to work out. No, I have a clear destination I'm trying to get to. It's a specific number, and that's where I'm going, right? Last one. I deserve to spend impulsively because I work hard. Ooh, that's a good one right there. I know I have been subject to that mindset specifically, right? Don't let it be payday, okay? You hit payday, you got some money, you put in your 40 hours for the work week, and you look at that account, maybe you've paid some bills, maybe you haven't paid all the bills, but you look at that money and say, I deserve it. I worked hard. I deserve some fun. I deserve this meal. I deserve this clothing thing, right? And you get impulsive. You get that itch, right? You're like, I just want to give me something because it's going to make you feel good. And again, back to money psychology and behavioral finance, there is a lot of studies and data that actually look into specifically that. When people are in a place of lack and struggling, they are most often the people who spend impulsively because they feel like I have no other control, so I'm just going to do this one small thing for myself, but you don't realize how that adds up over time, right? So here's a thought disruptor. I treat myself after taking care of my financial responsibilities. For example, paying yourself first, right? And we're going to talk about what exactly that looks like in a second. But again, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I don't want you to shame yourself. Like we just talked about why having a financial nihilism mindset might make sense based on the data, right? I'm not trying to say you should do it, but I'm trying to say, I get it. Okay. I get it. But we want to get to a point where we can stop those thoughts in their tracks and create a new thought pattern. Next, reframing what it means to invest. This is important because I think a lot of times people will have a negative connotation with investing, or they might not see the value, because oftentimes when it comes to investing, it's a long game, right? There are very few places in the investing world where it's get rich quick or a huge overnight windfall of money, right? So when it comes to investing, I want to help you get a better frame, or a better or just a different perspective, a different way to look at investing that can help make it feel more fulfilling and positive, and something that you actually want to do, versus limiting and feeling like I'm never going to see the benefits, right? So here are a few bullet points. Whenever you invest, you are saving for your future self. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. No, I said it right. You are saving for your future self, right? You can choose to save yourself now or later, but it's going to be harder the longer you wait for rescue. So what do I mean by that? First of all, I want you to know, when it comes to investing, nobody's going to come save you, okay? Especially not the government. If you're thinking that you're about to retire and get some Social Security benefits, or, whatever, next. No, skip it, forget it, throw it out the window. But when it comes, I lost my train of thought. But when it comes to investing, basically the point I'm trying to get across here is that if you don't invest now, you're going to have to invest later, and it's going to hurt. And what I mean by that is that you're going to have to invest more to catch up, to get to where you're supposed to be, or to get to a actual reasonable retirement amount, so that I can retire and stay retired, and I don't have to retire at, let's say, 65 and then be out of money by 75 or by 80, right? Because then you're 80 years old. Who wants to try and go back into the workforce, or try and be working hard for money, or try and be rescued at that point? Now you are a financial burden, or a financial dependent on other family members, right? At that point, you need rescue. So you get to decide. Do I want to deal with the short-term pain of, and pain is like, I'm going to say it like this. Do I want to put skin in the game now, when maybe I'm a bit younger, I have the will to work, I have the ability to go out and make more income, save more money? Do I want to do that now, right? Or do I want to wait until later, when obviously I'm going to be older, I'm going to be more tired. Most of the time when you're older, you just want to sit, right? You want to enjoy the wealth that you have accumulated over your life. So you get to decide which one of those you want to be. And nobody's going to come hold your hand and be like, hey, don't forget, right? Like, now you got me, because I'm going to remind you, but if you don't apply the plan, if you don't actually get to investing the money, can't nobody save you but you, okay? Next point. The goal is not to avoid risk. That is so good. Why? Because investing carries inherent risk, okay? So the goal is not to avoid risk. It's to choose which risk you are willing to take. And again, right? Am I willing to risk now, maybe having a little less money to go out for the weekend? Or am I going to risk maybe missing out on the girls' trip that I really wanted to attend, because now I needed to save or invest that money? Or the other side of that risk is risking getting to later in life and having no retirement savings, right? You get to choose which risk. Even when we're talking about investment accounts and investment tools, you could be a more conservative investor, which means I want to take lower risk, right? I don't want as much risk, knowing that lower risk means lower return. Or you could be more of a aggressive investor, which means I'm taking higher risk, but there's also higher earning potential. Or you can find yourself somewhere in the middle, which is like a balanced, moderate investor, right? So you get to choose. As a matter of fact, when you sit down with a licensed professional, one of the things that they do is suitability, right? What suitability means is they're asking you questions, they're getting to know you, they're getting to know how much money you have, what's your time horizon, what's your tax bracket, right? They're asking you all these questions because they're trying to figure out what is your risk profile. So you get to say, oh, I'm a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to risk, so I might be more on the conservative side. Oh, I don't mind risk. Maybe I'm young. I got disposable income. This is just my play money. I'm okay with a little bit more risk, right? You get to decide. Next point. This is so important. This is such a good point. Shout outs to me and shout outs to ChatGPT for helping me with this presentation, but it was mostly me, just so you know. Anyway, next, you don't need certainty to invest. You need a strategy. Very good, because a lot of times people are waiting for certainty. Certainties in a lot of arenas, certainty with my income, certainty with my stability, certainty with the market, certainty with who I'm working with, the advisor or the platform that I choose to work with, right? Certainty with me feeling confident enough to do it, right? But here's the thing. You don't need certainty because it's just putting more obstacles in the way of you getting started. Okay? You don't need certainty when it comes to investing. In fact, especially when it comes to the market, there's no way for you to have certainty. Okay, we talked a little bit earlier about insider trading, right? There's no, I'm sorry, trying to get the words out. Nobody has a crystal ball when it comes to investing, okay? Nobody knows what's gonna come. Everybody is uncertain about what's gonna happen. So the answer to that is not, I need to be 100% certain before I can take a step forward. No, the answer is I need to have a strategy that aligns with my goals, that is something I understand, is something I feel that I can reasonably do, right? I'm not stretching myself too thin. You don't need certainty, you just need a strategy. Next point. If you never make money work for you, you will work for money till you die. That's not an understatement, okay? That is a true reality. Again, if you are somebody who is fearful of investing, you're fearful of loss, you're fearful of, what's going to happen. The thing about investing, the thing about money is that, sorry, hold on. I'm trying to get my TikTok live to keep going. Okay, there we go. If you never make money work for you, and what I mean by that is actually having the money invested, having the money actually beating inflation, that's another big point, right? If your money is at least not beating inflation numbers, then the money's not working for you. It's sleeping on the job. It's chilling on the job. You need to put the money to work, okay? So if the money is not working for you, you will work for money for the rest of your life. And I don't know where you work, but look around. It might be some people at your job who is 60 plus, 70 plus sometimes. And you might be looking at them like, dang, why you not retired yet? Because they never made money work for them. They never had somebody sit down and tell them this kind of stuff, right? So now they have to keep working. It's a situation of have to. They're not working because they want to. They're working because they have to, okay? Next point, last point on this slide. Your beliefs about money, saving, and investing will either cost you wealth or create wealth for you. So again, y'all, I could talk about money planning, investment planning, strategizing till I'm blue in the face. But if you don't have the right mindset, the right beliefs about money, even about you inherently deserving money, that affects how you view investing, right? If you don't believe, or here's another one. If you're the type of person who is still, it really grinds my gears when people say this, but if you are still one of those people who is saying money is the root of all evil, what do you think is about to show up when you have money? Some evil, right? Because you spoke that out over your life, because that is what you believe. So you're going to attract more of that. So the solution is looking at your beliefs, addressing your mindset, overcoming or outgrowing outdated beliefs, right? If you grew up with somebody telling you money is the root of all evil, it's up to you to get to a point where you can decolonize and unbrainwash your mind. Okay? That person should not have said that to you or led you to believe that, but it's up to you to overcome that. Okay? Here is one thing that I think is most important when it comes to investing. It's the expression that we have all heard before. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, okay? One of the best ways to overcome fear and anxiety when it comes to investing is to spread out your risk. When you spread out your risk, that's called diversifying. Diversifying means rather than having all my eggs in one basket, I got one egg over here in one basket, one egg over there in one basket, one egg over there in one basket, one egg over there in one basket. I got multiple eggs, multiple baskets, right? Fear, when it comes to investing, comes from having that one golden egg, and we're scared it will break and we will lose everything. So if you have all your retirement fund, retirement money invested in the company of Blockbuster. Where is Blockbuster today? Gone, right? So some Gen Z might not even know what is Blockbuster, right? It's gone. So if your retirement account was all in one space, once that egg drops, that's when people are scared or fearful or anxious, right? But if you have multiple eggs and safety nets, not just multiple baskets, but also safety nets like an emergency account, like liquid assets, liquid money that I can reach if I have an emergency come up, right? If one of them breaks, you still got other eggs. We're still okay, right? So when it comes to investing, like I was telling you earlier, how to change your mind frame about investing, just think about, hey, I just need to make sure I have multiple eggs in multiple baskets and I have safety nets. Then I'm going to be okay, right? So now let's learn some financial literacy concepts about investing. So guys, I have a couple presentations pulled up from my company, which if you don't know, I am licensed with Primerica, which I really love Primerica. I've been with them since 2018. And one reason I really love them is because they are really great at giving me, they are really great about giving me oh my God, hold on. Okay, whatever. They are really great about giving me presentations like this so I don't have to reinvent the wheel, so that I can give information to my clients, teach people financial literacy, and They help me get the licenses that I have. I have my Series 6 and my 63 license through Primerica. I'm working on my Series 65 license right now. But I love being part of my company. We work with some of the top investment brokerages in the country, okay? And I'm not here to try and tell you to invest in any specific thing. I'm not here to give you a financial plan because that's illegal, one. But also, as I mentioned earlier, investing is such a unique case-by-case basis that I would not even be able to give you an advice on a specific thing to invest in because I don't know what your situation looks like, right? So I just wanted to get that out of the way in case anybody is scared, feeling like, she about to ask me for some money? No, okay? We're just gonna go over financial literacy principles, and I just want y'all to know I'm with Primerica, very much love them. They give us great information like this. So we're gonna skip that. And also we're gonna skip through a lot of these. We're gonna breeze through this stuff because I'm gonna be pulling from more than one presentation that our company gave us to just go over some investing financial literacy tips, okay? So first, this right here that we're looking at on the screen is called the cycle of market emotions, okay? So basically, when it comes to investing, most of the time, people are trying to get in at the top, which on this screen is point of maximum financial risk, right? When they're looking at, oh, this is what everybody is so excited about. This is the hottest new crypto. This is the hottest stock. This company is growing and scaling. Maybe it's an AI company, is booming. It's got $1 trillion market evaluation, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? People get excited. They're feeling euphoria, right? They're feeling good. Here's one thing I just want to give that I'm thinking about this right now. If somebody is talking on social media or news about, hey, put your money in this, it's looking real good, you already late to the party, okay? The people who are already in it or have already made their money, they about to get out when you get in, which means it's going to go down, okay? So, which is actually what we're seeing right here, right? Because this line, your emotions eventually end up going down, right? And what we see at the bottom, we see people with pessimism. Hope I said that word right. But basically, when a lot of people are looking at the market and they're saying, oh, the market's so down right now. Oh my God, everything sucks. I want you to, in your mind, think, oh, everything's on sale. This is a massive opportunity for me. Why? Because I could take my $100, $1,000, $50, right, to the market, and I can buy more with my $100 than when the market was all the way at the top at euphoria. Okay, so it's important to consider this, right? Because a lot of times people want to get in when it's high, when it's all exciting, and people are, oh my God, we're making so much money, right? But you really need to, one sign of financial literacy is when a lot of people are saying the market is down, knowing that there's opportunity there, okay? Next. History is a great teacher. So one thing that I want to make sure that you guys understand is that when it comes to investing, there's bull market and bear market, okay? To keep it really simple, bull, what happens when a bull charges? It charges and it goes up, okay? So it's going like this, right? Bull market means the market's going up. What does a bear do when it's about to hibernate? It claws, it makes its little hibernation cave, right? So bear market means down, okay? What we're looking at right here on the screen is talking about how history is a really great teacher, because what it's showing is that once the bear market was over, here is actually what the market returned a year later, 5 years later, or the 5-year annualized return, which is basically from that time, from, for example, in that first one, September to September, right? So the point that this screen is making right here is that even when it's a bear market, it oftentimes doesn't stay that way, okay? And we're actually going to keep going, and it's going to show you some examples of bear markets and how long they actually lasted. So this screen right here is talking about the tale of 5 investors. We're not going to go through this whole entire thing, but here's the point that I want you to understand. We're looking at 5 different people who had 5 different mindsets and outlooks, okay, on the market, right? Some of them felt like it's chaos going on right now, so I need to take my money out, or they might have felt like I need to put my money into something different, okay, like diversify, or instead of having it in the market, I'm gonna put it somewhere else, okay? But investor 5, which is at the bottom of this screen, was the person who, as we said earlier, stuck to their plan, stuck to their strategy, and they were able to ride the wave through that time period, which I believe in this example, we're looking at 20 something years, almost, 13 years of time that passed, okay? In 13 years, investor 5 stuck to their plan. And that person made the most money. But I want you to think about how many headlines, anxiety driving current world events happen in those 13 years. But investor 5 did not change their strategy. The other 4 investors, they did, and they lost money. So what's the takeaway from this? The takeaway is the takeaway is sticking to your plan and strategy most often will result in the highest return, because the thing about money is that the longer it's invested, the more time it has to grow, okay? Next, this point right here is about, it's basically that same what we just looked at, right? Because the previous screen with the 5 investors was them doing $10,000, right? And what we're looking at right here is basically saying with one $10,000 investment is made each year. We're looking at each year from year 2005 all the way to 2024. Okay. So again, 13 years, right? And basically what this is saying is if I try to wait and time the market, waiting for that perfect scenario, waiting for the certainty as we discussed earlier, then I would have lost out on money. Okay. Again, you could see the different endpoints, whether the market was high or whether the market was low. We see that if I never invested the money, if I just did $10,000 every year, go put it in a jar and come back 13 years later, I would have had $200,000. Is that right? I don't know. But in this example, it says if I would have just put $10,000 in a jar every year, 13 years, I would have $200,000. But because this person invested when the market was high and when the market was low, they got an average return over all those years of somewhere between 11 and 13%. The S&P 500 on average returns about 10%. So you even beat the S&P 500. So, right? That the takeaway is sticking to your plan. Okay? Now, next, we're going to talk about the 3 Ds of investing: dollar cost averaging, discipline, and diversification. What is dollar cost averaging? This might be a term that you've heard of before, but it's like, what does it actually mean? It means investing a fixed amount at regular intervals that eliminates having to predict when to invest, as you will be able to take advantage of the market highs and lows by purchasing fewer units when the price is high and more units when the price is low. Okay, so basically it's like I'm putting my $100 a month into my Roth IRA, no ifs, ands, or buts. When the market is high, I'm doing it. When the market is low, I'm doing it, because we know that overall it's going to get me more units. And we're going to actually look at some examples of what that looks like in a second. Next is discipline. We kind of already hit that point earlier, right? When it comes to having a financial plan, just stick to the plan, okay? Don't get distracted by the headlines, by what's going on. Stick to the plan. And again, we already hit on diversifying, making sure you have different asset classes, spreads out your risk amongst your portfolio, looking at different timeline, right? Investments that end at different times, things that can offset losses, things that can help you with your taxes. So many different strategies when it comes to diversifying investing. But the point is to not put all your eggs in one basket, as we said earlier. So this right here is what dollar cost averaging looks like, okay? And the point that I want to make is that a lot of times people want to invest in a market that's only up, up, up. I only want to invest when the market is up, or when the market is looking like it's going up. But what most people don't realize is that when you invest with a fluctuating market, which is what investor B in this example did, if I'm investing with a fluctuating market, I can purchase more shares because my $100 a month purchases more when, for example, the price is below $5, right? I can get more shares than if it was $10. So let's look at how this played out. For investor A, at the end of a 6-month period of them doing $100 a month, but the market is only going up, 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 that person only had 42 shares accumulated in 6 months. However, look at investor B. Yes, it went up some months, but it also went down some months, right? They had a market that was going like this, up and down. Look at how many shares that person has at the end of 6 months. You might be, again, thinking why that is. Look at month 3. $100, they put in $100, and each one was $4 a share. So they got 25 in month 3. Investor B got 25 shares, but look at investor A, they only got 7 shares in month 3. So you can see how eventually over time, investor B ends up with more shares, which means it's more money, okay? The cost per share is higher for investor A and lower for investor B, even though they both put in $600, okay? So next, one thing I definitely want to leave you guys with is invest with your head and not the headlines. If this visual right here that we're seeing on the screen looks at from 1994, the year I was born, my God, from 1994 all the way to 2024, okay? So it's about 30 years. It's 30 years, right? And what we got on the screen is 30 years worth of headlines. Again, if you're on my TikTok, please go watch the playback or whatever on any of my other platforms, because we have some very interesting visuals on the screen here. But we have all kinds of different things that we went through. Obviously, we know 2001 was 9/11. We know COVID happened. We know what else they got in here? Y2K fears, okay? That happened in 2001. What else happened? Ebola, right? So all those times were times where an investor could have looked at current news, freaked out, and said, I'm taking all my money out. I'm going to go hide it in a jar under my mattress. I'm going to go get some gold. I'm going to go in a bunker. I don't know, right? And they lost out on money is the takeaway. But if that person had actually been invested for 30 years, the average annual total return was 10%. Again, the S&P 500 on average returns 10%. So if I can, and again, we're beating inflation. Inflation is like a little over 3%, right? So I'm beating inflation and I'm beating the S&P 500. Amazing. Again, this is why you don't want to invest with the headlines and you instead want to invest with your head. Out of all of those 30 years from 94 all the way to 2024, there were only 6 bear markets. Sometimes people get so scared. What if the market's down? What if it's a bear market? What if the market's crashing and burning? What if the economy is collapsing? Out of all those 30 years, almost the whole time I've been alive, it's only been 6 years where the market was down, a bear market. Why am I telling you this? Because I want you to rationalize the fear. I want you to understand I am not investing with what I think is going on, the current situation. I'm investing with my plan, okay? Diversification is a time-tested principle. What we're seeing on the screen here is a huge chart. It looks confusing, but I'm going to explain it. What we're seeing, we're looking at a time frame from 2010 all the way to 2024. And you're seeing a whole bunch of different color blocks, okay? The block that's at the top of the chart is the one that offered the highest return that year. The one that's at the bottom of the chart is the one that returned the least that year. Now, a diversified investor is someone who might, depending on who they are, depending on a lot of things, right? If they're diversified, they might have some of everything here. But let's say you decided that I just want to invest in one of these boxes each year. And what you're trying to do, again, because maybe you didn't listen to me or maybe because you didn't learn financial literacy yet, you're trying to pick out and predict what's going to be the top one this year. So let's look at how that played out. Let's say you started off and said, you know what, I'm going to only invest in small stocks, right? Companies that are smaller, maybe they just released their IPO. Okay, in 2010, it worked out because that was the one at the top. But look at how it's going up and down throughout the years. So if I was only invested in small stocks, look at how much my return would have fluctuated in those 14-year time. I probably would have been stressed out. Let's say you decided to go with international stocks, especially right now. Some people might be saying, oh, I'm just going to take all my money out of the American market. I'm going to go put it in international market. Well, if you did that, look at the return. Now, 2017, that would have been the right move because it returned 25%. It was at the top. But some of the other years, 2014, 2018, it was at the bottom. What's the next one? Large stocks. This one had a little less variability, I guess we could say, in the 14 years. But even still, if I just put all my money in large stock, there are more than half of those years where I'm not getting the highest return that I could. Okay. And then the next one is government bonds. Let's say you, for some reason, had a lot of faith in our government, or maybe you wanted consistent income, so you decided to invest in bonds, right? 2011, it was real good. But look at 2021 all the way to 2024. It was the bottom, and in fact, most of those years were negative returns. Last one, 30-day treasury bills. This is somebody who wants quick returns, right? It's short-term investing. I want to put my money somewhere, and in 30 days or, somewhere between less than a year, basically, I'm going to get my money out, right? And again, multiple years where it's up and down, up and down. So what's the takeaway from the visual that I just showed you, those couple of slides? The takeaway is being diversified, having something, think of it like a buffet. I'm going to get something from all the trays that's out there, right? I want to taste test every little thing, because that way, if I taste something and I don't like it, well, actually, let me reframe that. Let's say you go to a restaurant, right? You want a little something off of everything on the menu, okay? If I just get one thing and I don't like it, then I'm stuck with that meal. But if I got everything off the menu, then, okay, I'm going to try a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh, that's spicy. I don't really want that this year. But next time I come back, I actually love spice. So now it's working for me, right? All this to say, I don't know if that was a good example or not. But what I'm trying to say here is be diversified, because you can never predict which type of investing or which investment account is going to be at the top and which one is going to be at the bottom. So be diversified, okay? Tax advantage of deferred savings. What this screen right here is showing you is that over time, it matters where you're investing your money. You want to be in tax deferred accounts, which means that I put my money in, and for example, a 401k, I'm putting pre-tax money in, and then later the taxes will be taken out before I retire. That's an example of a deferred taxes. However, the opposite is I already paid the taxes on the money. Now I'm putting after-tax money in there, so it comes out tax-free, like a Roth IRA, for example, right? So it matters where you put what account you put the money in, because you have to account for taxes. And most often your tax bracket is going to look different later in life. Okay. So these are the types of things that you have to think of. And it might seem like very complex, but the takeaway is having more than one space where I'm growing and investing money for the future. Next, I want to talk about mutual funds, because some people have heard of mutual funds, but they actually kind of don't really know what it is or what it does, right? So let me explain. A mutual fund, let me start here. A lot of people understand when we say investing, they think of stocks, right? A stock is buying one small part of one company. So if I were to think of it like a pie, I'm getting one really small little slither of the pie, and I'm sharing that with thousands of other people, sometimes hundreds of thousands of other people. So I'm getting a real small sliver, right? However, a mutual fund is, rather than just investing in one company, it's investing in a group of companies, right? So maybe 50 to 100 companies all put together in one pot of money, right? And investors from all different walks of life, all across the country, all across the globe, are putting money into this investment account, right? They throwing in, maybe it's $50, $100, maybe somebody throwing $1,000, whatever, right? But what they're getting is, rather than a small part of one company, I'm getting a piece of all of the companies that are in the fund. So rather than me just spending a couple $100 on, let's say, a Tesla stock, I'm investing in a fund that has Tesla and Amazon and Google and Meta and right? So then you're purchasing all of these companies for the same $50 contribution that you put in every month, right? So that's a very basic explanation of a mutual fund. There are 3 ways to earn money from a mutual fund. One is dividends, meaning the assets. Oh, I didn't mention this about mutual fund. Let me go back. Here's also some things to know about mutual fund. The individual investors are not required to be experts, because there is a mutual fund manager whose job it is to study the market, understand everything that's going in. Let's say they have a company like Blockbuster. I don't know why Blockbuster on my mind today. Blockbuster is in the mutual fund. They see Blockbuster is going down. They take it out and replace it with something like Netflix, which we know is going up, right? So you, as an individual investor, putting your $50 every month, you don't have to worry about, oh, is the market up? Is it down? Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know what to do. No, you just put in your $50 a month every month, so that, remember, we just looked at dollar cost average, so that whether it's up or it's down, you purchase in a small amount of all of the companies that are in the mutual fund, not just one company, okay? So you don't have to be the expert. You just consistently put your money in. It's diversified. All of that does all of that for you, okay? So now back to how mutual funds earn money. Because it's managed by a portfolio manager whose job it is to try and beat the returns of the market, right? A lot of people have heard of ETFs. ETFs are great. Index funds, same thing, great, right? But the difference with ETFs and index funds is that they are tracking the market. For example, the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 returns 10%, the index fund or the ETF is also going to try to return 10%. A mutual fund, because it has a mutual fund advisor, their goal is to beat the market, okay? Here, they're trying to meet the market, get the same return as the market. Here, they're trying to beat the market with a mutual fund, okay? So because of that, they are strategically investing the money along with, that is aligned with the mutual fund's objectives, right? Because each mutual fund has an objective, and they're not just going to go aggressively invest if that's not the objective of the mutual fund, okay? So let's say they invest, that investment makes money. Everyone in the mutual fund gets to benefit from that. It's called a dividend, right? Now, as far as my clients with our mutual funds, we like to reinvest those dividends. So let's say we reinvested dividends instead of your $50 a month going in because you got paid out a dividend. Let's say it's $2, right? Now I got $52 going in the next month instead of $50 because it's my $50 plus the dividend is reinvested. Now it's $52, right? So dividends, mutual funds do pay you out money from dividends. Capital gains and capital appreciation is kind of what I just explained as far as the assets that are in the mutual fund portfolio are growing and accumulating. So the company itself is making money. And because of that, the mutual fund investors get to share in that appreciation and gains. Sounds great, right? 5 great reasons to own a mutual fund. I already kind of hit on that. Professional money management. You don't have to be the expert. It automatically diversifies everything for you. It has growth potential. We just talked about capital growth, capital appreciation. Great. Has some growth potential. It's affordable. Minimum you can start with a mutual fund with me specifically, $25 a month. Very affordable, right? And liquidity. So depending on what type of account the mutual fund is in, okay, that will determine the liquidity. So for example, if you have the mutual fund in a Roth IRA, that money you're not supposed to touch till 59 and a half. Okay, so I don't need to, I don't have liquidity there. I want to read this last point right here. Mutual funds are not guaranteed against loss. Mutual funds have costs and fees that are attributed to management and distribution. Okay, so remember, when it comes to investing, there's inherent possibility of loss. Okay, they're not guaranteed against loss. But because it's professionally managed, that person's going to do everything they can to prevent loss, which is great. I'm not, flying by night. I don't got to do it myself. I got a professional who's managing this to avoid loss, but we can't guarantee. Okay. Also, whenever they pay out money, for example, in a dividend, or if you take out money, for example, it comes with fees. Okay. So understand that part of it. Okay. Why now is a great time to invest? So basically, if we seek to learn from history, we know that the market will not always be down. Okay. Even the years that it doesn't look good, most often, or let me say it like this, even the moment snapshot in time where the market doesn't look good or the economy doesn't look good, that doesn't mean that the whole year is down or the whole year is bad. Okay. Understand, when we look at history, it's very rare that the whole year was a bear market. More often than not, we have a bull market. That doesn't mean forever. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But it means that if we look at history, we know that it will always come back. Okay. Compelling opportunity, right? So you don't want to miss out on opportunity. Okay. Because opportunities sometimes only come once. Let me say that. Proven investment fundamentals. Learning with me, you're going to learn some fundamentals. And then we also have investment solutions. Now, I'm going to go to one other presentation here, and then we're going to go back to my presentation, and then we will wrap this up, guys. Okay, hold on. Before I get to my last presentation, let me share with you this slide real quick. So when it comes to investing, typically this is the approach that you want to take, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna say it like that. This is typically the approach that maybe you will want to implement to protect yourself and diversify, okay? You typically want to set up at least these 3 accounts, right? One is emergency money. That is very important because think of it like this. If you put all your excess funds or available cash into an investment, and then it's fees or rules as to when you can get the money out, for example, a retirement account, then you have no liquidity. And if an emergency comes up, which we know an emergency will come up because emergencies are inevitable, you are not going to have any accessible cash, right? Because you put it all in the investment and it's going to be fees to get the money out. So instead of doing that, not all investment accounts, but sometimes, right? So instead of doing that, one of the first things I do with people before I set them up with a investment strategy, right, is help them establish an emergency account. So important, right? I don't want to put your last $50 into a Roth IRA if you don't have no emergency money saved, because the next time an emergency come up, where's the first place you want to look to get your hands on some money? The Roth IRA. Okay, so have the emergency account, have it separate. Next, short-term savings, right? So these are the things that are in 3 to 5 years. They're short-term. There are a bunch of different investment vehicles that offer you short-term returns. But when I say short-term, I want you to think 3 to 5 years, okay? Sometimes I say short-term and people think this year or next week, okay? When it comes to investing, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that most investing is over time. Time for the money to compound, right? So 3 to 5 years is short in investment years, okay? So yeah. Next is wealth building account, right? So that's when we're talking about retirement. That's when we're talking about generational wealth. That's when we're talking about educational investment accounts for children or just investment accounts in general for children, right? But 3 separate spaces. And this is a very good starting point if maybe you've never invested before, you don't know the first thing about investing. Start with setting up these 3 different spaces in your investment portfolio. Great starting point, okay? So now let's go to this last presentation over here, and then we will finish this out, guys. Okay, so I want to talk real quick to the people who are, because I've talked a lot about being young and first time investing, learning about investing, and all that's good. But what about the folks who is like close to retirement? Because I can understand why y'all stressed out too, okay? Because especially with everything that's going on right now, if you got a 401k, if you got a retirement account and it's going a little crazy right now, I understand why you might be stressed out. But when you're planning for retirement, here are some things that you want to keep in mind and keep on track so that you can hit your retirement goals. And let me also say, these are most often the things that people don't consider when it comes to investing that ends up wiping their money out, okay? And most people are underestimating how much it will take for them to retire, especially as we're seeing cost of living and inflation going crazy, right? We know that it's only getting higher and higher. So you just want to err on the side of, I'm going to say more than I need, but these are some of the things that will wipe your retirement savings out, okay? 1, underestimating the number of years your retirement might last. Huge. As I explained earlier, I believe I'm going to live to 100. People in general are living longer. And not only are they living longer, but they're living longer with more medical conditions. or medical needs. I'm gonna say it like that. Because of that, even like assisted living, senior homes, right? They are a couple grand a month. I've seen some $6,000, $7,000, $9,000 a month, right? So underestimating how many years you will live and how many years that retirement money needs to last from retirement age until you die. Again, you don't want to be in a position 75, 80, or just later in life, an older person having to go back into the workforce because you underestimated the number of years that your money will last. Next, retiring without accumulating a big enough nest egg. That kind of just goes with the point before, right? The average person has less than 150,000 saved for retirement. I'm gonna let you know right now, that's not enough to retire, okay? The average person, and I read this report years ago. I think this was 2023 when I read this report, but across the United States, the average need to retire is about $3.5 million. And that's not even a luxury retirement. We're talking about just medical needs, living, transportation, food, right? Basic necessities to live, let's say 20, 30 years in retirement. You need a big nest egg, okay? And not just one nest egg, multiple eggs in multiple baskets. We talked about that, right? Okay. Withdrawing too much too soon. Okay, you get retired, now you hot girling, right? You flying all across the country, you going to see the grandbabies, you taking that vacation that you never took because you was always at work, and you taking out all this money too fast. Big no. We need to strategize and plan out how we will take systematic withdrawals from your different accounts. Another reason to have more than one egg and more than one basket, because we can look at some eggs that are ready to hatch right now and some eggs that are going to take a little bit longer to hatch, to keep on with the egg analogy, right? So because of that, we want to use the ones that are about to hatch right now, create some boundaries, right? And don't take out too much too soon, okay? And in addition to that, leaving some of those eggs invested if we can, and keep them accumulating wealth even while we're in retirement, because we know inflation and cost of living is just going to continuously go up, right? So we need to have more than one egg, and some of those eggs still need to be incubating, even though we're retiring and cracking eggs now. I don't know why I went so far with that egg analogy. Anyway, not understanding retirement risk, huge. Medical is one of the biggest ones. Huge. Taxes, that's another big one. Definitely important to understand. And we're in an era where scammers are very elaborate. And with the use of AI, AI is tearing these boomers up, okay? The president included, unfortunately. But senior crime against senior is on the rise. Financial fraud against seniors is on the rise. So understand what those risks are. Next, spending your assets spending your assets down incorrectly. Okay. Basically, withdrawing too much too soon, withdrawing the wrong accounts first, all of that, right? So, I'm gonna skip this. And also, some of this data in this presentation is Canadian data. And the reason why that is because our company is US and Canada based. So this presentation puts them both together, just so you know. Okay. Before you retire, some questions you should ask yourself. At what age do you want to retire? Remember, retirement is not an age, it's a number. So really, you need to ask yourself, what number do I need? How much savings do you think you'll need? Have you considered all the what ifs? And here are the 3 risks you should consider before you retire: longevity risk, market risk, inflation risk. Longevity risk. Longevity risk is the possibility of outliving your money. We kind of already talked about that, but look at this. Average life expectancy, and these are 2025 numbers, men live to about 77. Look at women. First of all, I want y'all to know women outlive men, okay? And I think we live longer because once y'all die, we be less stressed out, so we can just live freely. Okay, amen. But if you're a woman, okay, you need to prepare because you're going to live longer. So you need to have more money set aside. And if you are dependent on your spouse, know that they might die before or after you. Y'all likely will not die at the same time. So I need to make sure that my money is going to last even without my partner here. Market risk. Once you retire, you should continue to diversify your portfolio in retirement, just as you did when you were still working. We already talked about the bear and the bull market. This right here, again, talking about bear and bull market. Inflation risk. Inflation is a rise in the general level of prices over time, which can erode your money's purchasing power. Very important, because look at this. In today's dollars, $10,000 will have to feel like, in order for it to keep pace with inflation, it's going to have to feel like $24,300, or to say it differently, $24,300 spends like $10,000 30 years from now. Okay, so basically what that means is whatever you think you need to save right now, go ahead and double it, or maybe even triple it, because inflation is going to eat away at it. Even just the cost of things are more expensive. Therefore, what I used to spend, even think about it, I used to be able to go to the corner store and get a soda for $0.25. Now I can't do that no more. Sodas be like $3.99, $2.99, $4.99. Right? I went to a coffee shop today. I got a coffee and a croissant. It was like $10. Right? So all that to say, I'm sorry, it was like $15, not even $10. The $10 was just for the coffee. So all that to say, you need to invest to keep pace with inflation. Okay? Are you financially ready to retire? When considering retirement, it's very important to look at your lifestyle, estimated sources of income, and estimated living expenses. Most of the time, guys, people very much underestimate how much they're going to be spending in retirement. They're like, oh, I'm going to be older and, I'm not going to do anything. Even if you just want to retire and sit in a rocking chair and eat ham sandwiches every day, that still requires money. Okay, so understand, and most of the time when you get older, you have less income. Okay, so understand how these things will affect your retirement savings. Discover how much money you need. Again, one thing that I do for my clients, and actually what this slide right here is talking about, is our financial needs analysis, which takes into consideration things like age or years to retirement, current retirement assets, monthly income in retirement, monthly expenses in retirement, asset allocation, all of these things that most people don't think about when they think about saving for retirement. We do all the thinking and heavy lifting for you through our financial needs analysis. And like I said, it's going to give you that financial independence number. So definitely reach out to me, whether you're close to retirement or not. Reach out to me, because everybody needs to know what their number is. Now, this slide right here is talking about what will I likely be spending my money on? And I kind of was talking about some of these points earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but just know that most of the time, expenses are outweighing your income at this point, right? Look at the sources of income. We got Social Security, and that's still a huge maybe. I mean, I've been seeing reports that it's supposed to be, Social Security is supposed to be ran out by 2030, okay? So do with that what you will. But the income, right? Maybe you got a pension, maybe you got a 401k retirement, a qualified retirement plan, or a non-qualified retirement plan like a Roth IRA. Maybe you got some real estate income. Maybe you got investment income. Most people, though, they have one of those things, maybe two, right? So income is down here, but look at all the expenses. housing, utilities, taxes, groceries, transportation, health, insurance, entertainment, other expenses, right? So one of your biggest retirement expenses is likely going to be your healthcare. Consider all these things. When you retire matters. Oh, okay. This right here is talking about retiring in a bull market or a bear market. Sometimes you can't predict that, so being diversified matters. Safeguarding your assets. This is a very important point, and we're actually going to talk about this more on next Friday, but just know that what you're looking at on the screen is all the way to the left, somebody who put their money in 100% bonds, versus all the way to the right is 100% stocks. And then the middle sections there is a balance of both of those things, and is looking at a 25-year retirement. Okay, so I retired at 60 something, and I'm gonna live till 80 something, right? So depending on how my assets are depending on how my assets are diversified, shows how much I should withdraw and when, because that matters. Again, if we pull out too much money too fast, it's gonna throw everything off. Okay, so that's what this screen right here is showing. Again, this is kind of high level, but the point that I want you to take away from this is that when it comes to retirement, your income matters. Next. Okay, retirement solutions. So here are some things that I offer to my clients that I would love to help you set up, and that when we talk about retirement, what are some different vehicles? Because most of the time people have just heard of a 401k. Maybe they've heard of a Roth IRA, right? But here are some other things that you could utilize to invest for retirement. Mutual funds. We already talked about mutual funds. You can have a brokerage account with a mutual fund in it. Managed accounts. Managed accounts is basically a higher level of investing. Maybe I have more assets, more money. It's focusing on life cycle stage, such as accumulation, preservation, and then income distribution, right? So it has 3 different stages. It's just a higher level of investing. And then variable annuities. Variable annuities is something that a lot of people don't understand, but basically, or a lot of people don't know. I'm not going to say understand. A lot of people don't know about annuities in general, but basically what an annuity is the perfect tie between I want to invest my money, but I also don't want to experience all the losses that my money may be exposed to if it was just in the market. Okay, so an annuity put these two worries together, and they offer you a product that you could put money in for a certain period of time, then it matures, and then it gets to a point where it pays you out every month like a pension till the day you die. Okay, so this is a beautiful space for people who are about to retire, or they've recently retired and are trying to figure out, where do I put this money so that I can still have it invested, but I want it to also be protected? The answer is annuities. Okay. This is other types of annuities. Also, legal protection, huge underrated thing that most people do not put their thought into until they have a legal situation, especially when we're talking about retirement age, right? You don't want to be dealing with no legal lawsuits when it comes to, I'm protecting my nest egg, I'm protecting my retirement savings. So having legal protection, very important. All right, so now we are going to go back to my original presentation, and we are going to wrap this up, guys, because I've been yapping and talking, and we are going to finish this out. Am I still on my live? Where's my live at? Where's my StreamYard? Oh, man. Am I not recording? Oh, I am still recording. Hey, y'all. Okay. All right, me almost to 2 hours. Dang, I be talking, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm a yapper. You probably already knew this about me by now, but it's all right. I'm a yapper, but hopefully y'all are getting something out of this. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up with our last few points. Some of that I just went over might have been super high level, and you might have zoned out, and you might have been like, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. She's just talking. She's just saying a whole bunch of stuff, and it sounds good, but I don't know what she's talking about. Here's something that I want you to take away. Use financial tools wisely and understand how they function. Just understand the type of account that you're investing in. You don't got to understand everything about the market, okay? You don't need to understand every little thing about mutual funds, about stocks, about the S&P 500. You need to just understand the tools that you're using and how to use them properly. One thing that I want to say, I already mentioned that the average person has less than $150,000 saved for retirement. One thing that I want to say to calm your fears, if you are the type of person who is worried about a huge economic collapse, a run on the bank shutting down, the investment company closing, okay? I want to say that one thing to understand about financial accounts, financial tools, is when accounts are protected by FDIC and SIPC, which are basically two forms of protection on my account if this institution fails. Not if the market is going down or if there's huge economic change. That's a different situation. But if this institution ceases to exist, these two protections, FDIC and SIPC, are two things that protect you from or will help you recuperate loss from an institution shutting down. And again, the reason why I want to say that is because sometimes people get to a state of, oh, I don't want to invest anything because what if the market collapses and everything shuts down? And it's like, they're still going to give you back your money. Legally, they have to give you back your money, even if it's $50, even if it's $20. A bank investment account, as long, now, one thing to note, especially the people who like alternative investing, the crypto, the token coins, there's a whole lot of stuff out there. If it's not FDIC or SIPC insured, you're on your own. You're taking risk, okay? But I want you to also understand where you are protected, okay? Understand the taxes and fees associated with each account. We kind of already talked about that, but for example, tax deferred account or an after tax account, right? Understand when the taxes are due. Did I already pay taxes on money or is the taxes going to be due later? That's something to pay attention to. Have different accounts for different risk tolerance and return expectations, right? So even if you find yourself being a moderate, balanced, or in the middle investor, maybe I'm not aggressive, but I'm not conservative, but I'm also not aggressive, I'm in the middle, it's still okay to have spaces that are a bit more conservative and then also spaces that are a bit more aggressive, right? So what I mean by that is maybe you have your 401k, for example, and that's a bit more conservative. You're doing the employer match. They typically choose the investment for you or offer you a few options for you to choose from. And that one might be a bit more conservative. Versus over here, maybe with your brokerage account or with your Roth IRA, you go a little bit more aggressive, right? So understand that you can have different accounts for different goals with different risk tolerance, and then you can expect different returns from those different sources, okay? But manage your expectation. You're not going to invest in a government bond and expect to get rich tomorrow. That's not how that works, right? Manage your expectation and learn what to expect, what return to expect from each account. And then understand the interest rate and how it may change over time. A lot of times you sign up for an investment or you go in the door and the investment is this, or the interest rate, the return is this. But just know that over time, rates change. Okay? Rates do not stay the same. They change over time. So understand how rates change, how that affects your money, and how I'm properly using the tool. One thing I want to say right here. We're seeing a lot of people misuse it. This kind of a tangent, and we're actually going to talk about this more in our next live. A lot of people are using financial tools in the wrong way. And one classic example of that is people who try to use cash value life insurance as an investment. Life insurance, I'm going to say this very clear. Life insurance is meant for when you're dead and gone. Life insurance is not meant for while you're living. Life insurance is not an investment tool. Life insurance is not meant to be leveraged. Life insurance is not meant to loan, right? They allow you to, yes, but that's not what the intention or the purpose of life insurance is for. Life insurance is for once you're dead and gone, your beneficiaries can replace your income that was previously coming into the household from your paycheck. That's what life insurance is for. And that misusing life insurance is a good example of not applying financial literacy and misusing a financial tool. Here's another one. People saying their first home or the home where their primary residence, where they live, is an investment. Your home is not an investment if you live in it. Your home is not an investment if you live in it. Your home is an investment if you're making money, like an investment property, and then I'm renting it out, and now it's a stream of income. That's when it's an investment. Your primary residence, it counts towards your net worth, yes, but it's not an investment. Okay, so again, using the right financial tools and understanding how they function, using them wisely, very important. We kind of already hit this point, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but just know if you are avoiding risk, you are also avoiding return. No risk equals no return, no reward. Okay, so that little pyramid that you see right there on the left-hand side of the screen, that's actually from my textbook. I mentioned I'm studying for the 65, wish me luck, guys. The Series 65 is an investment exam, but basically what we're looking at right here, and you know, if you're watching the playback, pause and just look at this deeper. But the thing that I want you to take away from that pyramid right there is that there are things all the way at the bottom of the pyramid that are less return, less reward, but they're also less risk. Versus the thing all the way at the tippy top of the pyramid is highest amount of risk, but also potentially highest amount of reward, right? So sometimes when people think of investing, their mind wants to go all the way to the top, right? But it's important, again, as I've been saying this whole time, to be diversified. Have something from the bottom, from the top, from the middle, right? And it depends on who you are, your time horizons, what you're trying to get out of it, what your needs are. But this is just a really great visual, because to me, it very clearly lays out, okay, the higher I'm going on this pyramid, yes, I am risking more, but I also have the potential to gain more, right? And it's important for you to stretch your vision and eventually reach for that. But just as we're seeing this man over here on the right side of the screen, it's balance. You have to balance it, right? And for him, he's looking like he's about to go a little bit. The risk is getting heavy, right? Because he's chasing the dollars, right? So understand, you have to balance, okay? Next, last few points, guys. We're almost to the end. I know I keep saying that. We're over 2 hours, oh my gosh. Okay, knowing when to revisit your investment strategy, okay? So these are some cases, because, and this is the reason I want to say this, because sometimes people will read headlines, or they hear something on social media, or they talk to somebody and they tell them, oh, have you ever heard of this form of investing? Oh, you should look into this. Oh, I'm doing this with my investment. You should do it too, right? And people just be like, okay, I need to go add this and add this and add this and add this to my strategy. No. These right here are some of, I'm not going to say all, but these are probably the most often cases of times that I need to come back and revisit, adjust, improve, pivot, any other word that you can think of to change my strategy. Outside of this, I'm sticking to my strategy. I'm disciplined. I'm sticking with my plan and I'm not changing. But these are the cases right here where it might make sense for you to adjust your strategy. You got married or you got a divorce. You had a baby, a birth or a death, right? So you had a baby or somebody passed away, particularly somebody who was the breadwinner or that you were financially dependent on, right? Or maybe whatever, right? You might be responsible for their funeral, okay? You retired. You changed jobs. You're making more or less income. Maybe you got a promotion. Maybe you started a side gig. Maybe you got more income now. You're getting child support. Oh, let me take that back. You cannot invest child support. Okay, sorry. Take that back. But maybe you're making more or even less, right? Maybe you left a job, whatever. Less income. Next, new goals. Maybe you have, right? You have a new property you got your eyes on. You want to retire abroad. Okay, that's a new goal. That's a reason to come back and revisit your investment strategy. A new tax bracket. This kind of goes along with making more income, right? If you make more income, you go to a different tax bracket. You might need to revisit your investment strategy. Here's another good one. Roth IRA. I forgot what the maximum is. I think it's 120. Actually, I don't want to say the wrong number, so don't quote me on that. But there's a maximum that if you make beyond this amount of annual income, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. Okay, so again, if your tax bracket changes, then we need to revisit the strategy. And I want to also caveat that and say it's not that you have to give up or liquidate the Roth IRA if you end up making more than the maximum. It just means that you cannot continue to contribute to the Roth IRA. It will still grow and compound and it's still going to be working for you. Them dollars still going to be working, but you just can't contribute anymore after you make that maximum amount. And that's annual income. Okay. If you're not diversified enough, right? We just talked a lot about having multiple eggs in multiple baskets. Maybe you watch this live, watch this playback, and you're like, hold up. Come to find out, she ate. Okay, sorry. Come to find out, I'm not diversified enough and I need to put more irons on the fire. I need to put more eggs in more baskets. And then you're sitting on too cash. This is a big one, okay? This is a very big one. You find out you're sitting on too much cash. If your cash is sitting in a bank account, a savings account, it's doing nothing for you. It's getting dust. It's growing gray hairs. It's not working. It's chilling, okay? You want your cash working for you. You want your money to be invested. So if you just got cash that's just hanging out, maybe you got a safe in your house, maybe you got a jar of money, maybe you just got money sitting in a savings account. That's a reason to come back to your investment strategy and say, okay, where can I put this money in an account so that it will work for me? Okay, last few points, guys. I'm going to stop saying that because it's not the last few points. I've mentioned multiple times that my newest obsession is cooperative economics and mutual aid because I think it's something that is very interesting to me. And we have a lot of cases where it does work, but unfortunately not enough people are talking about it. So they don't get to see evidence of it working or they think it's not doable. So I want to be the type of money coach who's going to talk to people about it more often. Okay. So when it comes to investing, ways that we can implement cooperative economics and mutual aid is by focusing on ethical investing. And there are ways to ethically invest and control where your money goes to. Another reason sometimes I've come across this before, people will say, well, I don't want to invest because I don't want my money going to BlackRock, or I don't want my money going to these big corporations that exploit people and ruin our environment and ruin our communities. And I don't want to invest in those companies. And particularly when we talk about mutual funds, it's actually really hard to invest in a mutual fund and avoid exploitation or avoid companies that might be, again, I want to watch my words here, but companies that maybe you just don't align with, let me say it like that. It's hard to invest in a mutual fund and avoid sometimes investing with companies you don't align with. Therefore, there are different ways that you can invest with companies that may be more so aligned with ethics, your values, community, helping the environment, helping people. And we're going to talk about some of those right here. So all the way on the left-hand side, we have a girl holding a box that says CSR, and that stands for Corporate Social Responsibility, I believe. And basically that means a corporation that is working out in the community. Maybe they're working with people in the community, they're serving people, they have community events, they have free resources, maybe they have a volunteer thing, they got the little booths at the free festivals and giving you away stuff, right? That is an example of a company that has CSR, corporate social responsibility, because they're giving back to the community. Also, ESG is environmental social governance. And basically what that is companies, again, that align with missions, initiatives, goals. They contribute to the community, the environment, society and community and social skills and governance. So maybe they're helping improve policy in a certain area, right? So again, maybe you want to look for companies that have CSR initiatives or ESG initiatives, because that means those companies are out there working with people. Also, social responsibility and social responsible investing. That means investing in funds, investing with companies that do work in the community. Maybe they are aligned with social justice initiatives like Black empowerment, rights for immigrants, right? So this is an example of investing with a company that has alignment with those goals. Community investment fund is basically, now I'm not sure if that's a logo from a specific company, but basically, I hope it's not, but because I don't support or endorse that company at all. But what community investment fund is getting a group of people all together from obviously a community. And I know credit unions do this a lot, where maybe we're raising money for a certain thing in the community, like a park or I don't know, fix a road, right? But basically it is for the people of that community investing in something that will improve and impact their community. And it's a fund, so it's actually invested. Everybody's putting in money, just like we talked about a mutual fund. Community investment funds are similar, and except for the difference is that it's a pot. The difference is that they are working with people that are in the community, and they're doing something to fund a initiative in the community. Now, something that I also am getting more interested in and that I have learned more about is local AI and data centers, local AI versus data centers, okay? So a lot of people, especially when we're talking about ethical companies or just AI in general, they say it's destroying the environment, it's mass surveillance on people, data mining, right? They're pointing out all the things that's wrong with AI. It's taking people's jobs, it's AI slop, right? Giving us weird content, all the things, right? And I get that, okay? I'm not saying those things are wrong. I'm not disagreeing with any of those points because you're right. However, something that I don't think enough people are talking about, and something that I think is interesting and the future of AI, I'm gonna say it like that, because let me say it like this. AI is not something that is going to disappear, okay? I truly believe that AI is part of our human development. I believe that it's something that's here to stay. I believe it will continue to disrupt and be implemented even more in different industries, right? So I say that to say, instead of fighting against I think it makes more sense for us to reimagine better uses of AI, because AI does serve us in a lot of ways and helps in a lot of ways. There are benefits to AI. I know I certainly have seen some benefits to it in my line of work, but even on community scales, right? In large groups, it can be helpful. The problem that we're currently experiencing is that our government and just the tech industry, I'm summarizing, say the tech industry wants huge data centers and mass surveillance and cloud AI and AI that destroys the environment, needs a whole lot of energy, takes up a lot of space, right? So rather than doing that, as a society, we can not just say, FAI, forget it, we don't need it, we don't want it, right? Because that's not true. There are ways that AI can be utilized to help people. It makes sense. But I think something that I personally would like to learn more about and if I can invest in is local AI, which is less regulated, better for the environment. It's basically, rather than think of a huge data center, think of just like one huge computer, right? And maybe it doesn't spit out a whole report in 5.5 seconds and you can't ask it every question under the sun, but it works in a small space that it can do the function of what that small community might need at that time or that organization. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm not an AI expert, or I don't know everything there is to know about AI, but the point I'm trying to get across here is that there are ethical ways to utilize AI and grow with AI as a society, because I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think the more we can lean into ethical use of AI, the better. Okay. And then lastly on the screen is B corporations, B Corp for short. But these are organizations that are able to achieve a certain rating, and they have to classify, they have to qualify for it. They have to get approved. They have to go through certain qualifications basically to get the B Corp certification. And it involves things like giving back to the community, digital, your environmental footprint, all kinds of things that are just helpful to people, right, in society. And there are funds that will help you invest in B Corps, or just in general, finding a B Corp that maybe you really align with and investing with that corporation, okay? So the point that I want to get across here with ethical investing is, don't try to figure all this out alone. There are platforms and organizations that are built for this. So what's right here on the screen, and I'm not going to read through all these because I do not get paid from any of these companies. I am not endorsing any of these companies. I do not work with any of these companies. But in my research, I have found a list here of 8 different companies that allow you to invest, ethically invest, or invest in social causes that are aligned with helping the community and helping people and do good in the world. And then investing in forms where you can give funds and support directly to the people who need it. Because here's another thing about investing that I think sometimes people get hung up on. They say, oh, yes, I want to invest, but I want to invest in things where I can see the direct impact of my money, or see the direct impact of my investment helping my community, or helping this organization, helping this person, right? So there are some platforms, and this is not a a complete list. There are so many out there where you can go and find places where you can either donate or invest directly and help or invest directly in things that you value and you align with. So last, I keep saying last point. Last point is cooperative economics and investing. So how do we actually do it, right? I want to go over these 8 points these 8 things on the right-hand side. Basically, let's say you have a group of people, just like the people sitting right here at this table, and y'all are on the same page about wanting to invest together, pool your money together, financially level up together, and you want to be able to combine cooperative economics and investing, which first of all, that's something that's a real passion of mine. I would love to work with you, support you in doing that. So let me know if you are. But here are some 8 steps where I just wanted to give you that could possibly get the ball rolling with your group, okay? And I would suggest starting with like 3 to 5 people. You don't need a whole bunch of people, because the more people you have, the more complex and complicated, and the more you got to depend on other people. If it's 3 to 5, particularly 3, it's much easier to manage and control, okay? So number 1, get aligned and agree on the goals, right? Maybe the goal is everybody's trying to get debt free. That could be a goal. Next, full financial transparency. So everybody sits down. We not having the conversation of, oh, I don't want you to see what I got going on. I don't want you to see my savings accounts. I don't want you to see my financial mess. I don't want to talk about the financial mistakes that I made, and I know I need to clean it up, all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? We're getting fully transparent. We're getting vulnerable. We're saying, okay, this is what my current debt situation look like. Okay, you're being transparent with everybody at the table. Next, you create a mutual aid fund. So you can see at the top on the right side, I have 2 different types of accounts that are joint accounts, and this is from Investopedia, which is another really great source to learn more about financial terms and things like that. There's joint account, like a checking account, like a bank account, right? Like, or even like a PayPal or online platform, where you have more than one person who can contribute to that account every month, or also withdraw from that account every month. And then you have a joint brokerage account, right? So joint account might be just like a checking account where we're just doing regular spending. But the brokerage account means the money is actually invested, okay? But I say that to say, because sometimes people don't know that you can have a joint checking account. And not just for married people, right? You have a joint checking account with more than, let's say, 3 people, right? More than 2 people. Okay, so that's the mutual aid fund. Then you set rules for deposits and withdrawals, right? So maybe you say every month we each put in $200 in here, and by month 6, that's when we're going to start taking the money out. And when we take the money out, it's a date we all agree upon, and it's an amount that we all agree upon, okay? So you're setting the rules. That's another reason why you want to keep the group small, because you want people who are all on the same page, agree to the rules, right? So you get to set the rules, but you also have to be the one to stick to it. Next, 5, assign roles and responsibilities, right? So maybe you have somebody who sets the meeting and types up the notes. Maybe you got somebody who, I don't know, sets up the account and makes sure that everybody has access, right? Maybe you have somebody who's the accountability person who's making sure they're checking in with everybody and be like, hey, our deposit day is tomorrow. Everybody got that $200, right? So make sure you assign roles and responsibilities. Also, another reason is you don't want one person trying to control everything, and you don't want a person who's not doing anything and not carrying their share, right? Make sure that everybody has a role and responsibility. Number 6, schedule regular group check-ins. I am seeing this more frequently, especially with like friend groups, couples, right? Scheduling a specific time where maybe we go somewhere, or maybe we just sit in the living room, but we're purposefully talking about our finances at this designated time. Very underrated thing, right? It helps people stay accountable. It helps promote frequent check-ins with my finances, making sure the goals are still intact, that we're still on the right path, right? Very important to schedule regular group check-ins. They could be weekly, they could be monthly, they could be quarterly, whatever. I wouldn't suggest quarterly because that's a little too far out. But however frequent y'all need to do it, put it on the schedule, put it on the calendar, send the calendar invites, send the reminders. Number 7, stabilize before you scale. So I think a lot of the time, the problem when it comes to working with a group is they try and do everything all at once, right? So let's say we started with the debt freedom goal, right? We all put in our $200 a month. Maybe we need like 3 or 4 months where we're kind of building that muscle of making sure that we can consistently put the $200 in there before anybody starts receiving the money or we start making withdrawals, right? So you want to stabilize, like baby step it. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to start paying out money. Y'all don't have to start making group decisions. You don't have to start throwing the money into aggressive investments, right? Like you can take the time to build the habit, build the muscle, build the accountability, build the trust. And number 8, create a rotating support system, right? So this kind of goes with the withdrawals, right? But let's say we've been rocking with the $200 a month for 6 months. Now we got, I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out there. We got $2,000 in the account. Now, first or month 7 is going to be Susie's turn to receive help, right? Susie gets to knock off a big chunk of her debt, but then the next time is Bobby's turn. And then the next time is Jenny's turn. And then the next time is Steve's turn, right? So basically you want to rotate the support to the point where everybody feels that they're uplifted and supported. And even, we kind of talked about this in our last live too, even when you get to the point of, okay, maybe now I'm debt free, I've made it to my goal, we're not just leaving the other people who are not debt free yet. It's a support system, right? So we're still going to be there supporting each other throughout till we all have achieved the goal, okay? And over here on the top left side, I decided to put just a few little points because sometimes people will look, let me say, what sometimes intimidates people from group saving or group investing is feeling like I don't have my money together yet. So I don't want other people depending on me, or I don't want to agree to something where I later don't know if I can handle it, right? Or don't know if I would be able to keep up with it. So I say that to say there are other forms of cooperative economics and investing, more so mutual aid, that helps, that can help the community, right? So maybe you invest your time in bulk or group shopping, right? So that is not a monetary exchange, or we're not all putting our money in together, but maybe we all go to the car or go to the store together. We have our list together and we're saving money and time and we're not buying things we don't need. Or maybe I'm somebody who shops at Costco. I often get the big packs of stuff and I don't use it all, or I can give some to people in my community or my family or other people who need it, right? For example, my grandma, she receives food stamps. She be calling me every month like, hey, baby, I got some extra food stamps. You need anything? She don't need the money. She always say, my fridge is all the way full. She got a fridge and a deep freezer and it be all the way full to the brim. And she'd be like, oh, well, I don't need the rest of my food stamps money this month. Like, you could use it, or she'll tell my other siblings as well. So that's a great example of being able to utilize cooperative economics without necessarily having to give somebody money directly, right? Carpooling. We know gas prices are going crazy. Let's carpool together. We saving some gas money. Maybe I drive to work on Mondays, you drive on Fridays, and we are saving some gas. Emergency relief and mutual aid. This is especially great for people who, let's say, I'm on the brink of being evicted. I have food insecurity, and maybe I don't know where my next meal is coming from. Maybe I have kids and they really need some support with babysitting, or maybe my power about to be turned off, right? So being able to have people that you can go to that say, hey, can my kids come over here and stay with you, or can I, room with you for a couple weeks? Or just having that support circle is a very underrated in like investing in building those relationships with people that if shit were to hit the fan, if I was in an emergency situation, I know who I could reach out to for support. And maybe they can't give me the money, but maybe they can give me something that will help alleviate this immediate emergency. Another one, shared streaming or platforms, right? The Amazon, the Netflix, the things, right? Rather than everybody in the family paying their individual bill to Netflix, let's all share. We can be on the family account. We can be on the family Amazon Prime, right? Let's do the things where we can share. Because, and maybe, it's not all on mama or grandmama to pay the bill. Maybe we each throwing in $5 so that it's not just on one person who actually owns the bill, but we're all sharing the cost, okay? Because then it reduces the cost for everybody. And lastly, task sharing and accountability. I think accountability kind of goes with that picture of the people sitting there at the table, right? Setting up times where we're literally checking in with each other and be like, you said you wanted to do that thing. Did you do it yet? Can I help you with that task? Is there something, like you said you wanted to reach that financial goal. Did you start saving for that goal yet? Okay. Lastly, here's the thing. I bet you somebody logged onto this live, and first of all, they probably didn't think they were going to be here for 2 hours. So if you're still here, thank you. But somebody might have logged into this live and said, oh, she's talking about saving and investing. I wonder what she's going to tell me to invest in. Or sometimes when I meet people and I tell them I have an investment license, they'll be like, oh, what should I invest my money in? What's the best thing you think I should invest my money in right now? And again, any investor should not be just rattling off some funds or rattling off some stocks or whatever. Their response should be, I don't know what your needs are, so I would need to do suitability to figure out what are your needs, and then I can offer you a solution, right? But here is what I will tell you to invest in, okay? This is the only time I'm going to tell you what to actually invest in. So here it goes. I want to see you, if not anytime for the rest of this Financial Literacy Awareness Month, I want to see you invest in things that you value. Invest in your mindset and your beliefs. We talked a lot about financial mindset and beliefs around investing. Invest in improving your mindset. Decolonize your mind. Release yourself from the brainwashings that we have been served for all of our schooling years. Once you get to adulthood, overcome that by consistently investing in improving your mindset and your beliefs. Invest in improving your relationship with money. Hugely underrated thing, right? Again, like I said earlier, if you still have the belief money is the root of all evil, rich people are evil, even though I inherently believe billionaires shouldn't exist, but improve your relationship with money. Invest in journaling, reflecting on childhood experiences, working through money traumas. Next, invest in your skills and continuously learning. Very important. You should always be learning, especially when it comes to financial literacy. It's a constantly evolving market. It's a constantly evolving economy. So you need to consistently be learning and learning new skills, right? Don't just rely on whatever skills got you into your career or got you approved for the job. Consistently be learning additional skills. Maybe it's skills to do a side business or make you more money. Maybe it's skills that you can use to live off the grid. Maybe it's skills that you can use to, I don't know, any type of skills. I'm not going to try to hurt my brain right now. Improve your skills, okay? Continuously learn. Next, invest in your community and your family. I heard somebody say this recently. I forgot if it was a YouTube or a TikTok, it don't matter. But basically they were saying, when you think about the state of the world, a lot of times people get overwhelmed and hopeless because they feel like there's nothing I can do as an individual to change the world. But you don't need to change the world. You just need to change first your mind and yourself. Then you have a responsibility to change your household, right? And your community. How does that saying go? Be the change you wish to see in the world, right? So it's not up to you to change the whole world, but if each person were to individually go out there and improve their mindset and then improve their community, then each community is being changed and we can all change it together, okay? Invest in your social circle and your network. You've probably heard this saying before. If you hang out with non-broke people, you will surely be the 10th. Here's the other side of that. If you hang out with non-rich people, you will surely be the 10th. Okay? So proximity to wealth is a very big thing, a very underrated thing. I don't know why I'm saying everything is underrated right now, but it's a lot of things that's underrated and people don't spend their time on, right? And your social circle is one of them. So go to networking events, go to conferences, go to places where people are doing the things that you want to do, or they have the outlook that you currently want, or maybe they're just working towards similar goals. They all have a similar mindset, and that is what will show up more for you. Your communication skills, especially when we talk about the Gen Z, okay? Improve your communication skills, learn how to talk to people, learn how to network, learn when you meet somebody how to interview without them knowing it's an interview. So how to ask questions, how to ask not closed questions, how to ask open questions, how to investigate, how to talk to people, how to have small talk, how to, like, these are communication skills that, and here's another thing, a lot of people concerned about being replaced by AI. You're not going to be replaced by AI if you have great communication skills, because relationships are the new currency. Relationships are the new currency. My broker told me that, and it's so true, right? So relationships will open doors for you that sometimes your knowledge, your accolades, your degrees will not. Next, invest in your environment. So we just talked about, data centers and how it's ruining the environment. How can you contribute to growing your environment, right? Maybe it's a volunteer thing. Maybe it's a community garden. Maybe it's, I don't know. But if you don't like how your environment looks outside, you could be the one to change it, okay? Next, invest your time wisely. Oh, that's a big one, y'all. Time is the only thing we can't get back. We can get back more money. We lose money. We can make more money. One thing my business partner, Brian Melton, also a broker in my business, always says is that you can make more money, but you can't get your time back, right? So invest your time wisely. Along with that, invest your mental energy wisely. Why does it make sense to invest my time and energy on things I cannot control, on things I know is just going to stress me out, on things that's going to make me mad? I shouldn't. I should invest in things that make me feel fulfilled, that will help me grow as a person, as a woman. That's where I want to invest my time and my energy. Next, invest in protecting your data. Woo, that's very important these days because your data is being turned every which way but loose, okay, by all these corporations, the algorithm, the marketing, the data, the ads. I could be here for a whole nother hour talking about it, but I'm not. just know that you need to invest in protecting your data. And if you're looking for a resource that could do that, reach out to me, because I actually have a service that will protect your data online. Reach out to me. Next, invest in mentorship. Ooh. And like I said earlier, investing in an expert or seeking out expert or qualified opinions. Don't be going to somebody who, I don't need to belabor that point. Just don't waste your time with people who are all talk. Work with people who have some expertise, who have some proven accolades, qualifications. You want to center yourself around people that you can learn from. Invest in understanding AI. Like I said earlier, AI is here to stay. It's not going nowhere. Okay, guys? So it's best to just invest in understanding how it works, how you can implement it in your life to make certain processes easier, and invest in, like I said earlier, skills so that you will not be replaced by AI. Okay? No matter what, AI will never have the human touch or the human experience that you have. Okay? So understand AI and don't be fearful or angry at it. Understand it's just a tool, right? We talked last week about how a hammer is a tool. I can use a hammer to build a house for a homeless person, or I can use a hammer to kill somebody and hit them over the head. That's two different uses of a tool. AI is a tool that can be either used for good or used for evil. You have the choice. Invest in your hobbies. Guys, we have so many places that demand so much from us, and we live in a society that's just like work, 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 work. And I want to give you permission to invest your money and your time into things that fulfill you and bring you joy, because it's so important. Because otherwise, what is the human experience if we are not actually enjoying it? We are not brought here to just work and just slave away for somebody else. Even if it's a free hobby, even if it's something small, do something that pours back into you. And lastly, and most importantly, invest in your mental health and your health in general, because it doesn't make sense to accumulate a whole bunch of wealth, but then you crazy out your mind, or you can't function. Your body has ailments or disease, and you end up blowing through all your money, or you're not able to enjoy it. So make sure you invest in your mental health and your actual health. So that is everything, guys. We've been here for almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. Oh my God. If you watch this whole thing, thank you. I love you. Leave me a comment, okay? If you watch this whole thing, leave me a comment. If you didn't watch this whole thing, it's okay, because I know I'm a yapper, but I'm very proud of myself for sticking to this goal. I set this goal at the beginning of this month, and at first I was like, why did I say that? This is a huge undertaking. And not to mention, typically when I start a presentation or a workshop or anything, oftentimes my mind goes in like 1,000 different directions, and I'll be like, oh, and I got to talk about this topic and this topic and this topic, right? So I know that it can get quite long, but what I'm really hoping is that I can create more content that people can just watch. Maybe it's playing in the background, but it's actually informative, it's entertaining, and it's engaging, and it actually just meets you where you're at, addresses your mindset. I don't think I talk about the things that a typical financial advisor talks about, right? I think most financial advisors talk about A shares and B shares, your time horizon, how much you have for retirement, equities, debts, right? So all of that sounds good, but it's like, I need somebody to talk to me like in a language I understand. And I'm hoping that I am doing that for you. I hope that that's coming through. Okay. So, thank you for watching. If you are interested in a consultation, my consultations are free. That is my direct cell phone number and email. Please give me a call, send me an email. If you have questions, if you want to sit down, talk about your investment strategy, whether you have started investing and you just need some advice for someone to affirm, like, okay, you're looking good, like you're in a good position. Or if you've never started before, or maybe you have invested and maybe you made some mistakes or realize like, I need to clean some things up, reach out to me. Either one of those, I can help you get started. Preparing for retirement. If you're someone who is about to retire, like I said, I know things are looking very scary right now. If anything, let's talk so that we can calm those anxieties and fears and make a strong financial decision. Investment accounts for kids. I didn't talk much about this, but there are different investment accounts for kids. 529 is an education savings account. Custodial IRA is a investment account for kids, but they have to be earning money. So let's say my kid has a business, whether it's social media, selling lemonade at a lemonade stand, whatever it is, but they're earning money and I'm able to invest it. That's a custodial Roth IRA. And then there's also an UTMA, UTMA. It stands for Uniform Transfer to Minor Account. And basically, it's an investment account that I don't want to save for their education. I don't want to save because they have a job. I just want to save and invest for my child for their future. UTMA. So 3 different investment accounts for kids that I can help you set up. Would love to assist you with that. Protecting investment wealth. We talked a little bit about annuities, right? Making sure your investment is protected. It don't make no type of sense to be working all your life to accumulate a whole bunch of wealth and then later in your life is gone in one fell swoop because you didn't have no protections in place or you just had it all in one space. So let's make sure your investment and your wealth is protected. Money mindset shift. Huge thing. Improving your relationship with money, understanding my current habits, understanding myself, finding out what are my values, right? Even little things like I need to start with a budget so I can know, do I even have money to invest, right? Yes, all those types of things I can sit down with you and do. And then lastly, family finance meetings. I kind of, talked about that when we talked about cooperative economics, but, getting a group of people who are all of the same mindset and on the same page sometimes might seem like a huge feat or an impossible feat, but it's not impossible. And sometimes it starts with us having regular meetings with a unbiased third-party person coming in, teaching us some stuff, and then we're able to grow and implement those things that she's talking about with us. And that's certainly something I would do. It's free. So reach out to me. We can do it virtual. So we don't even got to be all at the same place at the same time. We can all just log in on Zoom from wherever we're at. And I would love to help you get on the path to joint investing or group investing and all the different things that we talked about today. So absolutely. That QR code right there is directly to my booking link. So you can book directly to my calendar. You ain't even got to reach out to me or call me or text me if you don't want to. You could just pop up right on my calendar. Also, the link is right below that. If you happen to be on a different screen, you could just click the link or scan it with your phone. But I'm so grateful. I'm excited and I just am passionate about what I'm doing. And that's it, guys. So I hope everyone has an amazing Friday. It's about 11 o'clock on the East Coast where I'm at. If you're watching this 11 o'clock, I don't know if you in the club. If you're watching this from the club, shout outs to you, okay? But if not, it's a Friday night. I hope everybody enjoys, be safe, and I will see you next Friday. Next Friday, we're going to be talking about income expansion and protecting your wealth. 2 big important topics, because here's the thing. I talked to you about saving and investing and all that kind of stuff and budgeting and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it just comes down to I'm just not making enough money. So let's talk about that. Okay. So I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you very much. Love y'all. Bye.